What's up guys, this is Pioneer Productions here, and as you may have seen from the title of this video, I will be doing a political video again. I know it's been a little while, but I've noticed that they are some of my most popular videos, so I've decided to do them again. In this particular video, I am going to be debunking and also just disproving some of the many things that social justice warriors, feminists, Antifa, Black Lives Matter supporters, and practically all establishment supporters have gotten wrong about the world. So, let's get started. I think one of the most common things you hear about whatever kind of bullcrap the left decides to embrace itself in is primarily immigration, women's rights, and civil rights in general. So, I guess we should start off with the simplest person, the simplest agenda in this case. I believe that should be immigration. And I should mention this will be a bit controversial, so I'm okay with mixed reviews, so let's get to it. So, immigration in Europe is a pretty big problem. Over 2 million refugees have arrived in the past 2 years, actually, with so many countries importing refugees on a daily basis. This is the open borders policy, which has been pushed by people such as Emmanuel Macron or Angela Merkel or pretty much any major EU supporter in the European Union. And this problem has caused, honestly, it's pretty hard to describe, actually. Ever since mass amounts of immigrants, most of which are Muslim men, have entered Europe, rapes have skyrocketed, and especially terrorist attacks. In Germany alone, terrorist attacks quadrupled in over a year. And this is not the worst of it. The worst of it is primarily in Sweden, where millions of refugees have already come in, and people are concerned that ethnic Swedes will be a minority in their own homeland within the coming decades. So that could be a major problem. And what makes this worse is that, yeah, people are actually pushing this bullcrap. And, yeah, it's, not really nice to talk about. There have been skyrocketing cases of rape, especially in Germany and Sweden, where primarily Muslim men are raping women as they come from an area that is dominated by an ideology which prescribes beating, raping, and harassing women. Essentially, women's rights in Islamic countries don't exist. There have been cases in places such as Indonesia or Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, where women are being stoned to death, flogged, or even, well, having acid thrown in their faces simply for violating one tiny little piece of this retarded agenda that Islam is trying to push. And that agenda is keep women oppressed, keep gays oppressed, keep basically anyone who is a black Muslim straight man oppressed. And that is the biggest problem, which brings us to our next issue, which liberals have been getting so wrong lately. I'm sure you've all heard about the struggle that gays and women and black people have had in the past, and believe me, I am truly happy that they finally have their rights now. But groups such as Antifa, or the social justice retards, as I like to call them, and Black Lives Matter supporters, which, if I may say so, has been classified as a terrorist group, all don't believe this. They believe that anyone who isn't a Christian white straight male is oppressed everywhere, including the Western world. And now, me and you, as reasonable people, should understand that this isn't true. People have had their rights for years, especially in the Western world. These people actually believe that women, LGBT people, and black people are oppressed. And look, I understand there may be a few teeny tiny little problems that minorities face in America, or different genders, blah 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 blah. And honestly, I believe they should stop. But what these people are doing is actually making problems worse. They are turning these tiny little issues into a major, major problem. I'm sure many of you have heard about the riots in Berkeley over Milo Yiannopoulos, the feminism is cancer guy. Yeah, that didn't turn out so well for the liberals that participated in that, primarily Antifa. Since the Berkeley riots, even the left itself has classified Antifa as a domestic terrorist group. These people say they are anti-fascist when they are complete and total fascists. That's the problem with Antifa. They campaign to shut down free speech and essentially get rid of freedom altogether. It's basically the apocalyptic future that George Orwell described, where, well, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. That is the nightmare that Antifa wants to create. These liberals, they say they fight for civil rights, but in many cases, of course, actions speak louder than words. Liberals have shown that their struggle for civil rights is in fact a way to revert our society, regress it right back into totalitarianism. And is that the sort of world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world like Stalin's Russia or Kim Jong-un's North Korea? Do you want to live in a world where you don't have any right to express yourself, to be who you want to be, to have any freedom whatsoever? Is that the kind of world you want to live in? Because if you support these people and their crazy agendas, then you are supporting totalitarianism in a critical sense. Look, I understand that some of these people are reasonable, but unfortunately, they're in the minority, and those minorities are obviously the quietest voices. The voices we hear screaming the loudest are the ones that preach violence, division, hate, and inequality. We have groups actually calling to bring back communism, a system that has caused untold suffering in the world, dictatorship, famine, economic stagnation, and regression. What do you want? Do you want to live in a democracy or a dictatorship? You take your pick. Really, it's no problem at all. Another problem is civil rights, of course, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but this is a slightly more specific section. In this particular area, this is where leftists claim to be fighting for. They claim to be fighting for civil rights, giving women the right to, I don't know, to be honest, what they're fighting for, because half the time they seem to be campaigning for useless bullshit, because they talk about giving women the right to abortion. And yes, I know this is controversial, I know this is a topic that I should probably be careful with, but think about it. Pro-choice, they've been campaigning for that for ages. First off, abortion is legal, especially in places such as America, and I really don't see why they're campaigning for that. It's been shown that over 1 million unborn babies are killed in the US alone every year, thanks to corporations such as Planned Parenthood, for example. And what's even worse about these feminists, primarily, who make up the majority of these civil rights fighting leftists, is that they're becoming increasingly radical, and that is the next problem that I will be discussing. As you know, feminism started out as a good movement in a world where women had very, very limited rights. And with hard work and a few deaths and arrests, they managed to get those rights for women. The right to vote, the right to marry who you want, the right to own property, the right to get jobs and equal pay. Those are truly great achievements in history. And those feminists, especially in my opinion, deserve praise. They deserve to be remembered and honored for their efforts, which released so many women from the shackles of patriarchy. But, unfortunately, third wave feminists today, which is the newest form of feminism, lately has been trying to undo everything the civil rights movement ever fought for. They're essentially trying to turn the former oppressors into the oppressed. We have feminists calling for the genocide of men. We have them calling for putting men in concentration camps, killing them, torturing them, having them castrated, getting all their private areas, and I'm talking about public areas like organizations, removed. That's what they're talking about. This isn't equality. They're trying to create a matriarchy, which is the exact opposite of patriarchy, but just as bad. Okay? They believe that men are privileged, and yet somehow we have a much higher suicide rate. We live shorter than women. We're more likely to die in car wrecks. We die in wars, fighting for your right to act like a whiny little baby, and essentially we're the ones who make up the majority of workplace deaths because we have to put our bodies on the line so you guys can have money in the economy. We're the ones putting ourselves on the line so you guys can have the great life that you have built. We have helped you build it. And you're responding by calling for our deaths and taking away our rights. That's something that I'm totally for, if I may say so. Okay guys, I think I'll just wrap up this video pretty soon, but I just want to tell you guys that I'm going to be briefly restarting my political series, and after that I'm going to be doing some other videos on my channel. And so, yeah, please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel for more videos every week. And Pioneer Productions, over and out.